Okay, today I'm going to talk about something that pertains to this bike and to all the GL series. This is actually a GL 1800C, which is a Valkyrie. That's an A, and then the F6B is actually a 1800B. They're basically the same machine. The big difference is on the Valkyrie, they pulled off the fairing and they pulled off the trunk and the saddlebags. They removed reverse gear, I believe. It doesn't have the link brakes. So it's basically a stripped down GL, which is what the Valkyries always were. And the B is the exact same thing as this one, except it doesn't have the trunk. So basically they use the same platform to build three different bikes. So anyway, the procedure is the same. And on all my Honda GLs, I put the third radiator, which you can see hanging down there. This one probably wouldn't need it because, as you can see, there's good access into the fans, but they still run backwards. So it's an issue. So I still put in the third radiator anyway. But there is kind of a procedure to get fluid in there because it has to make its way through all three radiators and the engine and everything. And it basically gets air trapped in there. And if you just try to dump antifreeze in there, it's just not going to work. So there is kind of procedure to go through. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through that and explain how that works. Now on the regular 1800s, you remove this pocket on the right side. That pulls out and you get access to the radiator cap. On this one, it's a little different. There's a push pin here, another one here, another one here, and another one here. There's four of them. And then there's a screw on the top. And that allows you to spread this open, and you can see you can get at the radiator cap right there. You can take out the bottom push pin. There's another one right here that you can pull out, but you don't have to. The main thing is you can get your hand in here. You can take this thing out of here. There. And once you get that out, then we're cooking here. What you need for special tools is this right here. As you can see, this is a regular transmission filler funnel. And if you look at these two, I cut about 1 inch off of a stock one here. Maybe you might have to cut a little bit more, depending on the profile here. So it gets to be the right size that it'll just fit in here. There. Let me turn this. So now it fits in there and it makes basically a seal. You fill that thing all the way to the top. And then you start the bike and you just let it run. And it has to get up to the point where the fans kick in before any appreciable amounts of liquid will flow in there. Once the thermostat opens, then it starts to fill, and then you just keep topping it off until it won't really take much more. And then you fill the funnel halfway, about up to here, and you shut everything down and you leave it. And you might have to leave it for a couple hours, but as it cools down, it's going to draw more fluid, and it should draw it down to about here. If it drops it all the way down, then you're going to have to add some in and maybe start it and run a little bit and kind of go through that again. But you want to make sure you get the whole thing full. It does help if you unhook this wire here. You can reach around. Actually, with the side panels on, you have to reach through the top. And you can unscrew this just enough to let air out, which you'll notice that the fluid in the funnel will drop real quick. And once it starts to drip, then you just screw it back in. This has an O-ring on it, so you don't tighten that, as a typical good and tight. You just snug it up. You just snug it up and kind of watch. I try to get the wire so that it's vertical. You get it to that point, just stop. It does not have to be, if you tighten it too much, you'll break the O-ring and then you're gonna have to tear it out of there, and that's a mess. So anyway, on the next part of this video, I'll actually start it up and we'll kind of go through that, and I'll fast forward through the whole series here so you can see how it kind of goes. Okay, as you can see, I filled this thing all the way up and it's bubbling down pretty good. The Valkyries are a little different. The way the filler is hooked up there, it actually does it does fill much better. On the GL Goldwings, it won't do this. It'll bubble once in a while, but it takes quite a bit. The fans have to come on. It has to go through a whole bunch of motions before you get the fluid to flow. This one is actually filling up right away, and you can kind of tell if it's working if you grab the top hose and feel the radiator. As soon as it starts getting warm, you know it's full. So we'll just kind of let this guy run, and it might be pretty much full. It kind of quit there, so we'll see what it does. Bike sure does run good. It's really quiet. There's no tappet noise, nothing. Very, very, very nice. I'm out of antifreeze, so I hope this does it. I might have to go get some more. It's still bubbling once in a while. Yeah, I think it's full. On the Goldwings, when you rev it like that, it'll usually spit a bubble or two. But the difference on the Goldwing is the filler is actually remote from the radiator. It's not in the radiator, it's actually remote. So the radiator is a little different design on these. And it's, I think it's bleeding through better. So we'll kind of let it run for a while here and we'll see what happens. Okay, the fans kicked in 3 times, and as you can see, we're down there pretty good. But the fans kicked in 3 times before this radiator. Now it's so hot I can't touch it. But it was ice cold until just now. So even though the fans kicked in, the thermostat didn't really open. But now, now this thing's probably running about 180 degrees. Pretty hot. So it's completely flushed, filled, the whole thing. I'm pretty much out of antifreeze here. So what I'm going to do is just shut it off. And we're just going to leave it sit. And I'll get some more antifreeze and fill her up tomorrow. But you can see how that funnel fits in there very nice and snug, and there's no leakage. And we're good. You got to be careful you don't want to fill more than about here and then leave it drain down. Otherwise, if there's still stuff in there, as soon as you pull this out, it's just going to spray antifreeze all over. You have to put a catch pan under it. But that's the procedure, and it took probably 15 minutes really. It has to go through a couple fan cycles, and you got to make sure that this radiator down here gets hot. And once that's hot, you know it's full. And it's a direct, this hose here leads directly to there. So it's in series with the left side. And you can do either side when I put the third radiator in, but I usually do the left side for just because this inlet here is that close. So the fluid basically comes in the bottom of that radiator, flows through the radiator, comes up to this one, and flows through this one. So it's in series with the left radiator. And the right radiator is in its own loop. It's a divided loop in here. So that's the scoop. Once you get that done, like I say, let her cool down. I'll top it off tomorrow, put the cap on, button this back up, and then I can take this guy out and test drive it. So hopefully that'll help you. On the 1800s, it's the exact same procedure for all the trikes I've done. And if it isn't a trike, if you're just doing an 1800 period, do it the same way, because it does work. And you know, it's just a matter of having the patience to make sure it's all the way full and everything. So that's the scoop.